Before we jump into this episode, I just want to give everyone a quick note. In this episode, you will hear Samaria sharing her experiences of feeling disrespected and mistreated in the healthcare system, including times where she was misdiagnosed. So our goal with this podcast is to hold space for people to tell their stories in their own words. This is Samaria's perspective and experience, which deserves to be heard. At the same time, this isn't meant as a criticism of all healthcare providers. We have a lot of respect for the work that doctors and medical staff do every day. This episode is about listening and not giving medical advice. Hello everyone, and welcome back to You Create's podcast, Many Different Birds, broadcasting on CJSW Radio, where we will hear authentic stories from special guests from all backgrounds and bridge the gap between non-Indigenous and Indigenous communities with a special focus on the Canadian healthcare system. We want to open up the floor to honest discussions and get a deeper insight into how we can improve our healthcare practices and work on our own biases. You're listening to CJSW 90.9 FM, broadcasting from Calgary, Alberta, at the University of Calgary campus radio station, which sits on Treaty 7 land. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. This includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, made up of the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. Additionally, the University of Calgary is located near where the Bow River meets the Elbow River, a place the Blackfoot people call Mohinsis, which is now known as the City of Calgary. Today's guest is Samaria Nancy Cardinal, a Blackfoot Métis therapist, healthcare advocate, and educator. Samaria's journey began with the misdiagnosis of bipolar disorder, an experience that profoundly shaped her life and inspired her to pursue social work and therapy. She has worked with organizations such as the Mental Health Commission of Canada and Healthcare Excellence Canada, and she now runs her own practice, Flower in the Wind Therapy, while also supporting clients through New Leaf Holistic Recovery, a program for people recovering from addiction. In this episode, we'll explore what it's like to navigate confusing or challenging mental health experiences, how trauma and labels can affect our sense of self, and the unique ways Samaria blends clinical and Indigenous approaches to help clients heal holistically. Whether you've ever felt misunderstood by a diagnosis or you're interested in holistic and culturally informed approaches to mental health, this conversation is for you. Thank you so much for being on our show today. It's so lovely to have you.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
And today let's start by talking about your story. When I first met you and when I heard your story, I was extremely moved, and I think a lot of people deserve to hear what had happened to you, and so that it can help other people who have faced similar experiences not to feel alone. So anything you'd like to share about your personal experience, I think would benefit everyone.
Well, thank you. The story is very long, but I'll try to make it a little bit shorter. At one point, I was at U of C. I was studying psychology. I was in my 4th year. I was pregnant. I was also night manager at the Alpha House. And when I had my baby, I got postpartum depression and ended up in the hospital. I wasn't doing well. And through that experience, they labeled me as bipolar disorder. And when they did that, that took 15 years of my life. They over-medicated me. At one point, I was on 15 different medications. They gave me shock treatment bi-weekly for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. And the issue is that I never had bipolar disorder. I had a lot of trauma, and I was depressed after being pregnant and having a child. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't know what to do with me, so they kept just giving me more drugs and shocking me. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where I ended up just being able to sit and drool. I could not be a mother. Mm-hmm. I lost my driver's license. I lost everything. I was put on AISH. Mm-hmm. I had to have a handicap bus drive me around. Mm-hmm. I just lost everything. Mm-hmm. And I kept going them, and I looked at doctors as gods at that point. Mm-hmm. I thought they really knew what they were doing, mm-hmm. and I trusted them, and I never should have. Mm-hmm. This went on for years and years, and I met this wonderful man that's in my life now, and he encouraged me to be more than I was. Mm-hmm. And one day, I walked into the hospital, and I fired them. Mm-hmm. I got really mad because I was explaining things to them. They told me that I was lying. Mm-hmm. And I felt that these were people that were supposed to be helping me, and they weren't. They were just keeping me down. Mm-hmm. So I fired them, and to further demean me, a security guard walked me out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so what happened was, for 2 years, I cut down all those medications. Every week, my husband helped me cut those medications down. It took me 2 years to get off those medications. And during that time, I saw another doctor, and he told me after, he said, you know what? You never had bipolar disorder. You had a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. Back then, they didn't know how to deal with you, so they drugged you. Mm-hmm. And these drugs had lasting effects on me. I have tardive dyskinesia still in my mouth. I had it in other areas of my body, but that has gone. Mm-hmm. And, I live with that every day now, that my past was taken away from me. Mm-hmm. And so when I got better, I was very angry. And so I became a healthcare advocate. Mm-hmm. I started out with Patients for Patient Safety Canada. Mm-hmm. And they put my story out in the public. Mm-hmm. And from there, I spoke at medical conferences and all sorts of different things. Mm-hmm. But the thing was, nobody took me seriously because I was just another person that was angry. Mm-hmm. And at first, I really didn't understand how to get my feelings across without being very angry. Mm-hmm. And so it was very hard. And so I decided that I was going to go back to school. Mm-hmm. I figured that if I got some letters after my name, that people would finally start listening to me. Mm-hmm. And so I went back to Mount Royal University at the age of 58. Mm-hmm. I had to do upgrading because when I left U of C, I didn't withdraw. Mm-hmm. So my last semester, I got all Fs. Mm-hmm. So that really made it hard for me to get back in. Mm-hmm. So I had to upgrade. And so I upgraded, and I did really good. And I thought, well, I'll go for the diploma. I can do that. It's only a couple of years. And I did it, and I got honors.
Congratulations.
And then, yeah, it was amazing. I was the oldest person in the classroom. People were asking me if I was the prof. And I'm like, no, I'm just another student. Mm-hmm. But I did very well. So then what happened was I did my diploma there. Mm-hmm. I went to U of C. Excuse me. I went to U of C to get my bachelor's because they did give me credit mm-hmm. for the courses I had taken. So I did a bachelor's in about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And then I did really good in that. And then I thought, well, let's just do it. I always wanted to be a therapist and really work in the mental health system. Mm-hmm. So I applied for the master's. And it was really funny. I had been doing my practicum at Kipitoyas, mm-hmm. The social work lodge. Yes. And I was talking to people, and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to get in. Like, I don't know if I got good marks. And I was a 3.99 out of 4.0. But I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get in. And I was like always asking, do you think I'm going to get in? I don't think I'm going to get in. Well, I got in. Outstanding. I got into the clinical program, and it was the 1 year intense master's. And that was brutal. It was just brutal. They don't offer the 1 year intense master's in clinical anymore. It's now a 2-year program. Mm-hmm. And I graduated in 2024.
Congratulations. That was last year.
Yeah. And you know what? It's really funny. Now that I have these letters after my name, mm-hmm. I'm not any different person, but people mm-hmm. think I know everything now. It's really funny. Mm-hmm. I know my superpower in mental health is because that I have that lived wisdom as a person that has had to navigate that system and has been harmed by it. And I also have the book knowledge now. Mm-hmm. So together, it's an incredible combination that I have is when I see people that I work with, I call them my wellness partners. I don't call them clients. Mm-hmm. When I work with my wellness partners and they discuss with me what they're going through, I can really relate to a lot of the things because I've experienced the system. Mm-hmm. I've experienced having to take the medications. Mm-hmm. I've experienced health professionals that demean me and subjugate me and don't listen to me mm-hmm. and think that I have no knowledge whatsoever and that they are the experts. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I'm an expert, and I never will be an expert on anybody's life but mine.
Mm-hmm. That's a really great way to put it because I agree. I don't think we can be an expert of another person's life because we're never exactly in their shoes. We don't exactly know what's going through their head, how they're feeling all the time. So it's really hard to say that you know exactly what decision another person needs to make at all times. Do you think that there's a lot to unpack here? You've mentioned quite a few things. So let's go back and talk about your misdiagnosis first and what led to that. So you said you were experiencing depression and then you'd gone to the hospital and they said that you had bipolar. How did they come to that conclusion?
They just, I came for a number of sessions and the depression wasn't going away. Mm-hmm. At times I was getting agitated. Mm-hmm. I did have periods where I did have a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. So I can see that. Now I look back at it and I have never been diagnosed, but I really believe I'm on the ADHD mm-hmm. spectrum. Mm-hmm. But back then they didn't have anything like that. And I have talked to other mental health professionals and they said a lot of people that have mm-hmm. ADHD were actually misdiagnosed as bipolar years ago.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. And I think the mental health narrative is changing right now because in the last few years, topics such as like depression or having ADHD are becoming more commonplace. At least I'm hearing that a lot more and people are becoming more accepting of that. So it's really interesting. And what year was this in?
Oh my goodness. Geez. It was so long ago. Probably 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that the narrative has changed around mental health generally? Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. I really believe it has, and for one thing about neurodiversity, I think we're all neurodiverse. Mm-hmm. It's like they have this normie thing they want to put people into, mm-hmm. and anybody outside of it gets called neurodiverse. Well, human beings are all very different from each other, mm-hmm. and trying to put us in little categories, I don't think works. Mm-hmm. Exactly. We could put a label on everyone and everyone would have a different label because, as you said, we're all different, so... Well, with the DSM-5, every couple of years they come out with a bigger and bigger version with more disorders. Mm-hmm. And I think if it keeps going like it is, pretty soon everything that we do as human beings will be in the book called a disorder. Mm-hmm. So that seems to be where we're going. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on labels or mental health diagnoses and disorders? Where do you think is the line when we should call someone like they have depression or they have bipolar, and do you think it's ever necessary to take medication? I think labels can be very dangerous. Mm-hmm. For me, they were. Mm-hmm. There was one time after I had received this diagnosis, I went to emergency and I was having some really bad palpitations in my chest and I wasn't feeling good. Mm-hmm. And I went to emergency and the first thing the doctor did was look at me and say, "Did you take your medication today?"
Oh.
And I looked at him and I said, this has nothing to do with that. And I says, and that label that you're seeing on my file is a misdiagnosis. And I'm very upset that you're even asking that, and you haven't even checked my heart yet or my pulse or anything.
Right.
And I walked out, and I needed help, but I was so angry I walked out of there. So labels can be detrimental. Also, people can become their labels. You know, if you have somebody and you keep telling them they have depression, they internalize that, right? And sometimes they lose hope. But on the other side, labels can also help people seek certain funding and things that they require to assist them. So if someone ever comes to me and they say, you know, they want an assessment or anything, and I don't do assessments, but if they do, I will ask them, why do you want a label? And if they tell me that they need certain services and programs, I will say, okay, I will send you to someone that will give you that label so you can get the help you need in that area. Otherwise, we have a discussion about labels.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting perspective. I think now there's a lot more labels with the increase in the mental health narrative. You hear a lot of people have ADHD or depression, and like you said, it's good to recognize when something isn't going right, but to what extent? I think that's the big question, right? With
regards to medication, I think medication has its place. Not used appropriately, it can be very debilitating for people. And I have many wellness partners coming to me, and I see them, and they're over-medicated by a psychiatrist. And there's been a few, I've told them to go back to their psychiatrist and be reevaluated because they were taking so much, like one had anhedonia?
Anhedonia.
Yeah, she had anhedonia, and I was like, I thought it was very strange, right? And so I said, go back to your psychiatrist. This isn't right. And the meds were decreased. Now she's fine.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So that happens in that area, right? I don't prescribe. I'm not a doctor, but sometimes I can see when something is a little bit off, and I will have them go back to their medical professional to look at that.
And you've experienced it yourself. You've been on that much medication, so you can relate to them personally in terms of, the signs, I guess. You can kind of see when someone's being over-medicated. So that really helps, I guess, in your professional life as well.
Yes.
And looking back now, if you were to tell someone who wants to go into medical school and be a doctor, what do you think, or if you were to go back and talk to the doctors that had misdiagnosed you or had disrespected you in the hospital setting, if you go back and talk to them, what would you say to them, or what do you wish that they would have asked you or done differently?
I really believe in a full assessment of everything in an individual's life. In social work, that's what we do. We do it socioeconomic. We look at how their family history is. We look at their occupation. We look at everything in their life. Spiritual, mental, emotional, cognitive, the whole thing. And I believe it doesn't matter if you're a mental health professional or a doctor or a psychiatrist. It doesn't matter what you are. I think we need to start looking at our wellness partners in that way. Because if somebody is depressed, why just give them a pill when maybe it's a financial matter that they can get some help in that area, right? Maybe there's family issues. Maybe a couple is arguing and fighting. Get them into couples therapy instead of giving them a pill, right? You need to look at the whole picture. Human beings, our current system fragments us mental health here, physical health here, and puts us in these little categories. But we're a whole integrated unit. You can't take us apart.
That's a very good way to put it, because usually pills target the physical body, right? So that means we're ignoring the mental, the emotional, cognitive, and spiritual, yeah. So how would you define spiritual? What does that component look like? Because I know I've heard a lot of people use the word spiritual, but what does that mean to you?
Well, to me, being Indigenous, my spirituality is connected to Mother Earth and my ancestors. And so I believe that the Mother Earth is alive. I believe everything has spirit in it. This desk has spirit in it, everything. And so everything is to be respected, and everything is to be honored. And that's including ourselves. And we are like a giant spider web, and we have connections to everything. And so in our spirituality, we honor the land, and we have ceremonies to help put us back in balance with the earth and everything on it, and with ourselves. We also have guidance from our ancestors that are always with us, and always sending us messages and helping us on our path. And that our community is very, very important to us. And so when we do go back to school and we get degrees, we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it so we can give back to our community.
That's a very beautiful way to put it. And that gives me more perspective on what spiritual means, because it can look a little bit different in different cultures and different contexts, so it's always very good to clarify. And your story overall is very empowering, and you're such a resilient person, and it's such an honor to have you in the room, because it's so nice to hear from people with a lot of experience how they've been treated, and that helps a lot of the younger generation kind of guide their careers. And if they do go into the medical field, they kind of know the signs, what to look for, how to treat people, not to jump to conclusions and to pills.
I think it's really important that, we always remember it doesn't matter how much schooling we have or whatever career label that we walk under. We're just another human being. And to always walk in humility. And especially when we're serving people. In healthcare, that's what we're doing. We're serving people. And so to always remember that they come first. We don't. And I always tell the people I work with, I walk side by side with you. I don't walk in front of you. I don't walk behind you. And the only reason I'm in this relationship with you is because I have a toolbox that I can use to assist you. But you have the right to always say no. You are the expert in your life. And I will never push you too far. I have to push you a little bit to get you to grow, right? And make you uncomfortable at times. But if I ever push you where you feel that it's too much, please let me know and I'll back off, because I don't want you to run away and not come to therapy. This is your safe space.
I wish more people would tell us that when we go to our appointments and clinics, that people would sit with us and listen to us and tell us that, give us that hope and faith that things will be okay and that they're going to be fine, and that, they're able to solve their problems with the help of us or with the help of therapists and doctors, but that at the end of the day, they're able to guide their life.
Yes.
And I think a lot of us can relate to this feeling of being misunderstood, or maybe not to the extent of receiving a diagnosis. And then, like yourself, I feel like your story is very powerful. But I think all of us, whether or not we've received a misdiagnosis or not, can relate to that feeling of not being heard. Unfortunately,
I've seen many doctors, since then, and I have been gaslit by doctors. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I was seeing a rheumatologist that never listened, ever. And I would go in and I would beg her for help, and I just got gaslit the whole time. And so I finally, after a few years, got sent to someone else that really does listen and that treats me like a human being, and I just love her.
That's really good to hear that you're in good hands now. Like you said, healthcare is another profession that's serving people. If you look at it like that, sure, maybe different types of education, but at the end of the day, it is a service role. So we need to put people first, like you said. And I think I can relate to this whole idea of having a label. I had a concussion a few months ago, and when I had that injury, it wasn't a great injury. I was in the hospital, and like a lot of things happened. But during the recovery phase, every time I'd get a headache or I felt dizzy, I would relate it back to the concussion, and to some extent that was good. But then my mom noticed that I was using the word concussion a lot, and I was attaching all of my symptoms to that. And this was a few weeks after the injury. And she said, I think you need to start reducing using that word a lot. And first I was taken aback. But then when I actually stopped and like disassociated myself from that label a little more, that's actually when I started to heal. So it was just a very small thing, but it's a very great example in my life where I used a label and then I was able to disassociate and then started to heal once I disassociated from that label. It's not that it didn't happen or I didn't have symptoms that were related to the injury. It was just, okay, how do I reshape and look at that injury now so that I can move on?
Yeah. When I was labeled bipolar, I became bipolar. And I lost hope. I literally lost hope. And I really went downhill. And I just let them, shock me. I just let them give me all these pills, keep me medicated, because I thought that's what my life was going to be like.
It's very surprising that we continue to doctors continue to give us treatments that aren't working, because you're going back, it's not working, they continue. So clearly they should have tried something else. But to what extent can we blame the doctors and the medical professionals, do you think? Because every day we're getting new medical research, we're getting new treatments, new ways of diagnosing people. And you said the DSM-5 is bringing out a new list or revisions every few years. So who do we exactly blame?
Well, I think it's the current paradigms. People go to school and they get taught a certain way of dealing with certain diagnoses, right? And then they go off and that's what they rely on, right? And as things change, then how people deal with certain diagnoses change. And so like now, back then, when I was misdiagnosed, there was no talk of ADHD, there was no neurodiversity, there was none of that. And now it's a really big thing. So it's like everything has changed so much. And also there's this patient empowerment that's going on. Back then there was none of that, right? So there's always the changing, states and norms that are going on in the mental health and the regular mental in the healthcare system. So it's constantly evolving and changing. And I hope that it will continue to evolve and change in a way that's very patient positive, right? Putting them first. I've seen neurologists that really have ego issues, right? Big time, and it's like, come on, you've been to school for a few years more than a few other people. You're just a human being. Come on down. But I think that's the biggest thing, is that we need to get rid of our egos.
And labels does that sometimes when you have extra labels at the end of your name after education. I guess that can change a lot of people. It's a hard concept, but again, we're coming back to the idea of labels and how they can change people, right?
Well, I have a friend. She's got her doctorate in law. Mm-hmm. She hardly ever uses the doctor in front of her name, and when she does, she uses it in small letters.
Mm-hmm. It's being humble. I would like to continue the conversation, and now we can shift a little bit, and I'd love to talk about how your personal experience has impacted your professional journey, and now how did all of that shape how you work with wellness partners?
I'm very relational. When I work with somebody and they're new coming in to see me, mm-hmm. I tell them who I am. I tell them what I've gone through. And I'm very open about that mm-hmm. with the people that I work with, because mm-hmm. I want them to know that I have been through a lot too. I'm not just somebody that's gone to school and read out a book. Mm-hmm. I've experienced a lot in my life. And so I let them know that I don't know exactly what they're going through, but maybe I've had similar experiences. Mm-hmm. And when I work with them, I am drawing on that book knowledge, but also on my similar experiences. And I work with a lot of Indigenous people, and we have been through things that a lot of the rest of the Canadian population hasn't, the racism and all that goes along with that. The loss of our land and everything, the loss of our culture. Mm-hmm. And so they love working with me because they know that I understand those things, mm-hmm. that someone else can read about it in a book, but hasn't fully experienced those things in their heart, right? So, and I use a lot of Indigenous teachings. I practice Indigenous focus-orientated therapy, mm-hmm. which is a form of therapy that was derived by an Indigenous person from focusing therapy. Mm-hmm. So it's a very land-based, spiritual form of therapy that's beautiful, that I can use with Indigenous people.
Could you talk more about what that would look like if I was one of the wellness partners, for instance, and I came to you? What would that look like for me?
Well, it's very somatic.
Mm-hmm.
In Indigenous culture, we like to stay out of the head mm-hmm. and be from our heart. Mm-hmm. And so in Indigenous focus therapy, we're very somatic. We're looking, when somebody comes in, I'll ask them, how's their body feeling? Mm-hmm. And so I had someone come in and they were saying, well, I'm depressed. And I says, well, what is your body saying about that? Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, there's this big gray cloud sitting on my chest. And I was like, oh, how long has that gray cloud been there? Mm-hmm. Right? And so it was like we were describing it from his body instead of from his head. Mm-hmm. And we were able, by the end of the session, we were able to get that gray cloud very minimized. Mm-hmm. We did exercises to relax him. Mm-hmm. We looked at medicines that he could use. And when we say medicines, when we're talking about Indigenous culture, mm-hmm. water is a medicine. Mm-hmm. Laughter is a medicine. Mm-hmm. Going for a walk in the park is a medicine, mm-hmm. as well as plant medicine. Do you need to smudge? Do you need to use sage to take the negativity away and cleanse yourself so that you can remember who you are? Mm-hmm. So we use the different practices in that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I wish I could experience some of that if I ever need to, because that's a very beautiful way. Because I don't think anyone's ever asked me, how does your body feel? That's never a question that I've gotten from a medical professional. So,
Well, unfortunately, our body is a part of us. Mm-hmm. And say when you're anxious, what happens to your body?
I feel like I tighten up and everything's just so tense and my heart feels like it's racing and I have a lot of thoughts racing through my head. I think that's how I would describe it.
So I know for myself, I get butterflies in my stomach and my stomach doesn't feel that well, right? So instead of saying I have anxiety, someone asks you, what's going on? Oh, my stomach is really shaky and my hands are shaky and my mouth is dry and, talking about the body symptoms, that connects us. That connects us all over, right? As I said before, we're an integrated unit.
I love the way you speak about all of this. And even looking at you, if I just met you on the street, I would have never thought you'd gone through so much disrespect and trauma, and you've become a very confident person and a very resilient person, and it really inspires me.
Thank you. My first year at Mount Royal was a big journey. When I walked into that university, I could barely speak. I would talk, my head would be down, and I would hardly talk to anybody. And I took public speaking, and I did all those things, and I pushed myself, right? And as I gained confidence, I started becoming the person that I was always supposed to be, that Creator made me to be, that was locked in a black hole for years.
I'm really glad you took those steps and you pushed yourself and you got here and we're here now, because I think more people need to hear your story and you inspire people. So I hope that other people will be able to share their stories after hearing this.
Well, we have our life to live, and it's up to us to live to our full potential. And unfortunately, sometimes many things happen to us, and we feel broken down, and we feel like we can't do it. And the thing is, we have to put that strength in it and do what we can do and push ourselves, because everybody has the same potential as me, and even more, right? And at first, I didn't see it, but then I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to sit here in a little room and cry anymore all day. I'm going to live, and it doesn't matter how old I am. I'm going to grab every minute of it.
You're so inspiring. Now, I would like to ask you more about your work and the different therapies that you use. So I know you do EMDR, so eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, for anyone who hasn't heard it. So the official definition is that EMDR is a therapy that helps people work through painful memories so they don't feel as overwhelmed. By using gentle eye movements or other exercises, the brain can reprocess these memories in a safer, more balanced way.
Yes, when I first learned it, I thought it was the weirdest thing ever because what you're doing is you're moving your fingers back and forth, and the individual that you're helping is just watching it with their eyes. So it's rapid eye movement. That's what you're doing. And so the premise goes is that when we sleep, we're doing rapid eye movement at night, and it's helping our brain process everything during the day. So what we do in EMDR is we come up with like a statement saying, I will never be anything, right? And then you also come up with a positive cognition, which is, I can do anything I want. I can do it. And so then what you do is you do the rapid eye movement with the individual. And what happens is the negative statement slowly is less disturbing. And then at the end, when it gets to a lower number, because we do it out of a certain number, when it gets to a low, then what we do is we install with slower tapping, a bilateral tapping, that installs the positive statement in. And then when the individual leaves, the brain is still processing it. Can be for a week, 2 weeks, can still be processing it. And then what happens is, at one point, they'll have the memory and they'll go, wow, I remember it, but it's not that disturbing anymore.
That's very interesting.
It's really, really interesting. Yes. And when the first client I tried it, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be working, because this is very strange. And we did it, and it worked, and I was shocked.
So our body already has this mechanism when we sleep to, I guess, turn those thoughts that are negative into something more positive. Is that what I'm understanding? Because we go through rapid eye movements during our sleep, right?
Well, the premise is the traumatic events, the things that are bothering us. What happens is they say that they're not stored correctly, and we need to restore them in a positive way. So what we're doing is we're bringing them up, and we're processing them, and we're restoring them in a positive way. So that changes it.
Okay. So it could be anything, like any negative memory would be. So if you were feeling like sad, for instance, would you use this therapy?
Well, it's usually used with a certain event or a certain statement.
Got it.
Yeah. Because you're taking that negative event, like, say, like, I am unloved. We would do that. And then while we're processing it, all sorts of events, like a spider web, will come up, and you'll see all these events will flash that had to do, that reinforced that negative statement. And so you're processing them all, and they're all like, they're just popping up in front of you as we're processing it. And then they get restored with the positive statement.
Wow. I can almost visualize that as you're saying it. So
yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah,
I've never heard of it before. So before I read about your work.
Oh, it's very big. Yeah. It's a very interesting form of therapy. Yeah. It's really used a lot for PTSD, significant trauma.
Right, because I guess they would have a lot of like traumatic experiences, and okay, yeah, that makes sense. Have you used this on yourself?
Yeah, I have.
Or someone else? Has
Yeah,
used
I've done it myself. Yeah.
And can you do it alone, or is it usually with someone else?
I've done it on myself, but it's not something that I would, if you're not trained in it, it wouldn't be safe to do. Because the thing is, it doesn't, like, if you disassociate it, or if you get, if you're highly emotional, the processing doesn't work anymore. So when we have somebody that we're going to work with, we have to prepare them for this type of therapy. All sorts of grounding exercises and things like that, tools for them to use, so that when we start the processing, I am really watching them. And I have to make sure that they're in a certain window. And if they go above it, I have to get them to use these tools that we have worked with to help ground them.
Awesome. And next, I'd like to talk about narrative therapy. So, again, I'll give the definition for our listeners here. So, narrative therapy helps people see themselves as more than their problems. It's about rewriting your story in a way that highlights your strengths and resilience instead of focusing only on struggles or labels. I think we touched a lot about this, labels today. So.
I love narrative therapy. It really aligns with my Indigenous culture, because we are story people, right? We tell stories about everything, and that's how we transfer our culture to another person, is through stories. And for myself, the first time I experienced narrative therapy, I was working with a woman, and I think it was around 2018, and she told me to tell her my story. And I thought that was very odd, but I did. And the first time I did, it was very, very negative. It was just all this horrific pain and everything. And she sat there after and she looked at me and she said, "Tell me again." And I said, "I just told you my story." She says, "Do it again." And so I did it, and it morphed a little bit. And then I was done. She said, "Tell me again." So I think it was about 5 or 6 times she had me tell my story. And it was really funny because every time it changed a little. And by the last time I changed it, it was a story of power and strength and resilience. And when I told that last story, she sat back and smiled. She goes, "That's your story."
Wow.
So it's narrative therapy is really, really interesting. And if somebody comes in and you're doing narrative therapy with them and they come in and they say, "Well, I want to see you because I'm depressed." Well, you don't take that word depression or depressed as to what you find in the dictionary or what you find in the DSM. You always ask them, "Well, what is depression? Tell me. What is depression for you? How is that depression that you're telling me about taking over your life?" Right? It's their story. So their definition of depression can be very, very different than what we find in some book somewhere.
Because it's how is that affecting their life? And they're the only ones that know their story and their life. Is that correct? Okay. How would you... Go ahead.
So you're guiding them through their own story. Right? And you're pulling out, as they're telling it, you're pulling out things and guiding that story. And also what's really interesting in narrative therapy is they have a thing where after the session, you write your client back and you can send them a poem or you can send a little story back to them about the session together with them.
Oh, how sweet and wholesome.
Yeah.
And it brings that relational aspect that you were talking about earlier back, right? No, you're not just in the session. After the session, you can also connect with each other.
Yeah, narrative therapy is just beautiful. We all have our own stories, and our stories are constantly evolving and changing as we walk on this earth. You know, every experience that we go through, everyone we meet affects us. And so as we walk through the day and encounter all these different perspectives and things, events that come into our life, our stories change and grow, just like we do. So narrative therapy is just a very beautiful practice, is because we are our stories.
Very beautiful. And I know we were talking about Indigenous healing practices and bringing in elders. So in terms of your work, is there certain moments where you bring in elders, or are there elders at the facility that I guess the wellness partners would see or consult with, or how does that process look like?
I work with Muscanawa Healing Lodge in Calgary, and they have elders there. So someone can make an appointment to see an elder, and they also offer ceremonies. They offer sweat lodges. They offer pipe ceremonies. They offer all sorts of different sharing circles and groups there. So it's very easy for me to refer an individual to an elder in that area. Yeah. So it's a wonderful place to work. There's all sorts of people there. They're not all just Indigenous people. A lot of non-Indigenous people work there too and come to the ceremonies, and it's a very welcoming place where we can all come together and appreciate each other.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. That was my next question, if everyone is welcome, or you have to be Indigenous to be part of these ceremonies and circles. And what other Indigenous wellness or healing practices do you use in your work? I
use a lot of teachings that I have received. I give them to the clients to help them go through certain things that they're experiencing in their lives. I give teachings on sage, and sometimes I use drumming. Drumming is very calming. The drum beat is the heartbeat of the earth. It's the heartbeat of the mother. And when we hear that, it brings us back when we're in the womb. We can hear the heartbeat of our mother, right? And it's just a very beautiful beat. You know, the boom, 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 boom. It's just very calming to us, and it just grounds us. Sometimes I do use it in the EMDR therapy. The drumming, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I was, for instance, someone who's never met an elder or never been in a circle or even seen like a ceremony or a smudge, what can that person expect when they come to you and then you refer them to an elder?
Okay. Well, an elder, a lot of times we don't pay the elder, but what we do is we do have an interaction that takes place. My teachings is when I receive an elder, when I want to talk to an elder and I want to ask something of them, I present the elder with tobacco, and I present it in my left hand, and because that is the arm closest to my heart. And so if I want a teaching from the elder, I'll go up to him and I'll say, this is what I need, and I put my hand out with the tobacco. And if they take it, that's a contract. And that means they will do what I asked. If they don't take it, then that means no. So it's that's how we do contracts, and that type of contract is more important to us than any written contract ever is. Yeah.
I think it's very different for someone who's non-Indigenous to come into the space and work with elders, because that's not a concept that we have in the Western community, maybe in a lot of different cultures. But I appreciate the explanation and why we use our left hand. Sometimes we do things and then we don't really know like the background or why we're doing a certain action.
Yeah, our elders are very important to us, and they nobody calls themselves an elder. You become how you get the title elder is the community bestows that to you. And elders all have different things that they do. Some are ceremonialists, some have teachings, some are strong in many different areas. And so you also need to know what that elder is gifted in and the knowledge that they have before you go to them. So it's, unfortunately, there are people out there that have taken the title themselves, and they're not real elders, right? And it's in our community, we know who the elders are.
My first interaction with an elder was actually when I started this podcast. I'd gone to our grandmother's lounge here, and I'd asked some support. I said, I'm trying to start this podcast. I need some guidance. So they directed me to an elder, Elder Carrie Moore, and she was very patient with me because I didn't really know anything. I didn't know that we had to do certain offerings. So that was my first time, and then we went through with the naming ceremony, so that was my first ceremony, and then after that I'd seen a lot more ceremonies and smudges, but it was I feel very fortunate to be part of that and to have experienced a smudge.
Well, with the smudge, if you smudging with sage, it's very grounding to you, and it's taking the negativity off of you. And there are teachings that when we use sage and we smudge with it, we remember who we are again, right? Without all the life and the trauma and everything that's going on, who we really are in our heart, that Creator made and put on this earth. And when we smudge, we remember that.
I feel like every time someone mentions or describes smudge, they bring out a new interpretation. I feel like I'm always learning about smudging and its different layers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody has different teachings. Mm-hmm. That's what's interesting, is you can go to many different things, many different people, and you'll find different interpretations and different ways of how people are doing things, right?
And do you use traditional medicines? I know you mentioned sage, but in your practice, would you prescribe, or I don't want to use the word prescribe, but recommend specific herbs or medicines?
I don't recommend any herbs, but I do. I will recommend, like, people that they smudge, right? And you can smudge with sweetgrass. You can smudge with sage. You can smudge with cedar. I do recommend those things, but I do not recommend people ingest certain things, because that is not my an area that I have expertise in. I do for myself take a few herbs and medicines, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't tell somebody else to do that other than smudging.
And anyone can smudge. And is there do you have to do it a particular number of times during the day, or?
I usually do it when I get up in the morning. I will smudge, or sometimes if I'm going to do an important event or going to do something and I'm just feeling like off and not feeling good, I will smudge. And then that'll help calm me and bring me back. There's not a certain number of times I do it. Some days I don't even smudge. I'm fine, right? Every time I have a wellness partner come in for a session, we smudge at the beginning of every session.
Okay.
And that helps ground us and center us, and, helps us remember who we are. And so when we start the session, we're starting it in a good way.
Someone told me cleansing your mind, your thoughts, and I guess you do, like, some people do it to their nose and then their mouth, right? So their words, and
I smudge the top of my head to clear my mind, and then my ears so that I hear good things, and my eyes so I see the good, and my mouth so I speak kindly and with compassion to others. And I smudge my heart to cleanse my heart of any negativity. And then I smudge each arm to balance the masculine and the feminine. And then I smudge my legs and my feet so that I walk the earth in a good way.
Wow. Everyone who smudges should take note of this. And if you don't smudge and would like to start, take note of this. And would you say that your work blends a lot of Western and Indigenous practices together when you work with your clients? Do you think it incorporates two-eyed seeing?
Oh, very much so. Yes. I think it's really important that both Western and Indigenous have very strong and beautiful components to them. And so I, as an Indigenous person, I take the best of both worlds and I weave it together to create that space in my practice for it. Even when I do EMDR, I'm doing it from an Indigenous perspective, even though it's a Western form of therapy, right? And so everything I do, I'm taking components of each and putting it together and coming out with this mixture that I help, and everybody I see, every wellness partner I see, I'm doing it a little bit differently as to what they require and their needs.
I really liked how your practice is very personalized. It's very, the patient is the center, the wellness partner is the center, and you're just a part in terms of guiding them. Are there any other I guess, techniques that you'd like to speak about? Anything that you really enjoy working with, or something that really struck you? Or I know we talked about Indigenous healing practices, narrative therapy, and EMDR. Is there anything else you'd like to share on that topic?
I like to do a lot of mindfulness based things, because I think it's really important, this world that we find ourselves in. We're always supposed to be hyped up, right? We're always supposed to be on the go. We're running by a clock. We're running to get to work. We're running here. We're running to get that. And our lives are so full that sometimes we lose who we are. And the mindfulness practices are wonderful because they have us stop. And when we do that deep breathing, and I make up all these visualizations and meditations, and I just sit back, just take the deep breathing, and just let somebody go on a visualization for a few minutes, and connect with their body, connect with themselves, and let that brain slow down a little bit, and in the world we live in, we really, really need that, so I use that a lot too, and I think it's really, really important. For myself, there was a time when I was a very, very anxious person, and I found the practices just so helpful. I just, and it's, and I also got a device. I won't say what kind of device it was, but it's a vagus nerve stimulator that I've purchased for myself. It really helps with pain control. It helps with insomnia, and it helps to decrease my anxiety. And it's wonderful because I have an aversion to drugs because of what I've gone through for myself, right? So this is a natural thing, and I've had it now for about a month, and I'm really noticing a difference
that's
in
really
myself.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
So can you do that if you're not do you have to be trained to use a vagus nerve stimulator?
No, they have them out on the market.
Okay.
Yeah, you can buy them. You don't have to be trained.
And do you practice mindfulness on a daily basis or regularly?
Yes, I do. I do. That's what keeps me insane in this. It keeps me sane in this insane world at times.
That's true. I think before you're introduced to the idea of meditation and mindfulness, so I also practice a lot of mindfulness every day. But before that, I think there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have thought about. I wouldn't have thought about why I was thinking something, because you don't really pay attention to those small things unless you slow down, stop, pause, reflect.
Yeah, years ago, before I went back to school, I actually took training and became certified in meditation. So that was one of the things that I was very interested in, yoga and meditation and all those things. And I found them very calming on myself. So I know what they can do, right? And so it's really, really important to keep our stress level down, because when our nerves are up, it's any type of illness will get worse when we're running really high and very anxious and very stimulated. And when we calm ourselves down, it's better on our body.
Right, because when you're stressed and feeling negatively, then you also start feeling a lot of physical pain. I've experienced that. I'm sure maybe you have experienced that as well, and other people. So stress is something we all need to work on reducing and learn different techniques that can make us calm, whether that's anything, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, different ceremonies and smudging. And you mentioned walking in nature and connecting with the land, connecting with people.
Yes.
I'd like to move on and talk more about flower in the wind therapy. And, when I first heard this name, it reminded me of rose petals flying in the wind. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. But I'd like to hear what's the story behind the name and what it represents and how you came up with it.
Okay. Well, if you take... it's from a teaching I received. we grow through conflict, right? And so if you take a seed in the ground, that seed has to fight to crack open. It fights to stick its roots into the ground, and then it has to fight that soil to get up and see the light. And so if it doesn't make that, it doesn't survive. It's got to go through that soil, and it comes out. And then when it comes out of the soil, and the flower can open up, and it always looks towards the sun, and it just keeps growing higher and higher and higher, and it looks towards the sun, and the wind can blow, and there can be turmoil around it, but the flower always shows its beauty and always looks towards the sun.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I chose that name. Because I had to go through conflict to get where I am, just as any other human being does. And we have to go through conflict to grow and become resilient through all the things that we go through. But instead of always looking to the dark side, we can look towards the sun in all of that. We all have that within us.
So, moral of the story, no matter what happens to you, you grow and you face the sun, you face light and positivity and hope, and you fill yourself with good things, because conflict will happen around you, but you have to be like that flower.
And you know what? When we make mistakes and we do things, a lot of times in this world, it's looked at as negative, right? But the thing is, these mistakes are teachings, because every time we do something, we're learning from it, right? And I used to think, why did I have to go through in life what I went through? Why did I have those horrible years? But now I look back at it very different. I look back at it as almost a blessing. Because all those experiences made me the person I am today. I would not exist without those experiences. And I have learned a lot. And everything that I have learned prepared me to be the professional and the therapist I am today. And I feel blessed that I have those perspectives. So when I have somebody that comes and seeks help from me, I tell them there's nothing you can do or say that's going to shock me, because I've probably done it myself.
I'm very inspired. And I really like the name and the meaning behind it. And it gives me a lot of hope for the future that, you know, we have people like you. We have people like you that will inspire other people to come and share their stories and then advocate for better health and well-being for everyone. And then what would you say were some of those challenges of putting together and running Flower in the Wind therapy?
Oh, there was a lot of challenges. Not in the business sense, because I've had other businesses before. So in the business area, I am fine. But it was, I got my degree because I wanted to help people. And when I started my practice, therapy is expensive, right? And so a lot of people can't afford it. And the people that I really want to help, a lot of times can't afford it. You know, not everybody has insurance and has that extra money to be able to go to therapy. That's a privilege. And so what I've done is I've aligned myself with organizations like with Muskanawa, right? They have they fund a small amount of therapy people, and they send them to me. And so people can get, if you're Indigenous, you can get 8 sessions that are funded, and they refer them to me, and then I help them, right? I'm also affiliated with Najimo Health, which is all across Canada. It's an Indigenous virtual healthcare clinic, and Green Shield has given them a grant, and you can get 22 funded sessions a year through them, but you need to be Indigenous. And I also work with Muskiki Wellness. Carly Fellner is the owner of that. she received a contract with a Survivors Circle for Reproductive Justice. And they do provide virtual wellness circles. They have a crisis line. They do all sorts of things that are funded for Indigenous people. So that's more of the way I've gone, more than seeking people that are looking for insurance. And so I want to help Indigenous people because that's where I came from. That's my community. I got all that schooling to help them. And so if I sat there and stayed and asked people to pay, I wouldn't be able to be helping the people that I wanted to help. So I've aligned myself with organizations so that I can truly help people that really need it. And that's my way of giving back.
I'm really glad that organizations such as the ones you've mentioned are in place so that we can help the people who need the help. And that's not always the people who can afford it. And I know you mentioned that you volunteer with the crisis line. How does that work, and what are your experience with that? And is it volunteer? Like, can anyone help, or?
No, it's not volunteer.
Okay.
It's with Muskegee Wellness, and it's it's a crisis line for their Survivors for Reproductive Justice. And it's a 24-hour crisis line that's run across Canada for people that were sterilized against their will by the healthcare system. Unfortunately, it was another form of genocide that our government did to Indigenous people. And so many women would go to the hospital and have their babies and wake up clipped or totally sterilized. And some didn't even know until years later. And so these people, they mourn for the babies that they never had, and also for partners that left them because they couldn't have children, right? And so these people, they've gone through a lot. There's a lot of anger there, you know, and also anger with the healthcare system. And it's still to this day, a lot of Indigenous women are very nervous about going to have their children in a hospital. You know, also because babies were taken away, you know, when they had done nothing wrong. So the healthcare system is a scary place for a lot of Indigenous people still.
That's very heartbreaking to hear these stories, but it's very important that we hear them and we talk more about them. That's because a lot of people are not aware that this has happened. A lot of people think that, oh, this happened maybe 200, 300 years ago. This isn't relevant to us. But when you come and tell me, then we know that this is actually something that's happening right now. It's affecting people right now. And we need to make change. What do you think our healthcare system needs to do differently in terms of, you know, if we go into the emergency department or if we go into a clinic, how can we better support Indigenous people so that they feel safe, that people feel safe just going to a doctor and asking questions or seeking help?
Well, unfortunately, when a lot of Indigenous people go seek help, say in emergency, a lot of times they will be beside a non-Indigenous person. The non-Indigenous person will get pain medication and they will not, because the doctors automatically think because they're Indigenous, they're seeking drugs. I've heard so many instances that person is laying there, they're in pain, but they won't give them meds, and a person sitting beside them with lesser pain and everything will get all the pain medication that they need. So right away when they walk in to a hospital, because of who they are, they're judged, right? And so it's horrible, and we need to start looking past races of people. We're all human beings. It doesn't matter what our skin color or what race we are. We need to start honoring each other as human beings instead of judging them based on race and different things like that. You know, also people coming in seeking help and they don't speak English. They're treated differently. Right? We have people from all over the world here now. We've got to get rid of that, you know, that judgment. You and start treating people as human beings, not as numbers. You go in last time I was in the in emergency, I sat there for 16 hours, right? And it's just, you just chewed through, but it's not the nurse's fault. They are so overworked. Funding has been cut. They're not getting the support they need. And a lot of times they don't have enough people on staff, and it's just horrible. We really need to start funding our healthcare system adequately and really helping the personnel that are there and treating them with respect. And I'm sure if we treat them with respect and they feel better about their jobs, then there will be less incidences when people come to seek care.
Because when they're overworked, they're also stressed and they're anxious and they have a lot to multitask. And sometimes that compassion and empathy that you're supposed to show to patients and people who come in to the hospital, it's put on the back burner because now you have a bunch of different things to do. You don't have enough people to do it. And I think it's so complicated. There's a lot of layers to this. Yeah. Like you said, funding, there's some structural things that need to change, but there's the one-to-one interactions that need to change and the labeling and all of that. So big topic for sure.
Yes. Could talk about hours on that one.
Yes. Anything else you'd like to share about Flower in the Wind therapy and what you do differently if you go to another therapist elsewhere? What is something that stands out when we go to you?
When you come and see me, you're speaking to me as an individual. You're not speaking to someone that always wears a therapy hat. I am me all the time in session. It was really funny. I'll tell you a story. When I just got out of university, in university, they always tell us, you have to act a certain way as a therapist. You don't self-disclose, all these kind of things.
Right.
And I was against it, and I would always tell the profs I didn't agree with it. Never agreed with what they were saying. But I got out to my practicum, and I had this one client. He was an old Blackfoot man. And he came in, and he hadn't signed the consent form yet. And I was all Miss Therapist. I come in the room, and I'm like, oh, you have to sign this consent form. We can't proceed without it. And he sat there, and he leaned back against the couch, and he put his arms across his chest. And he just looked at me with his eyes, and I was like, oh, my God. And he was just like eyeing me up and down, and I was getting really nervous and still trying to maintain that, real professional therapist composure, right? And he leaned forward, and then he said, "Who are you?" And he said that, and I just I could feel my whole body shake. And I thought, oh my God, that persona is not going to work. I have to be who I feel I need to be with this individual. And so I leaned forward and I sat down and I told him who I was. And I told him my journey of becoming a therapist. And he leaned back and he cried. And he looked at me and he said, "Thank you. You are my therapist." And he signed the form. And after the session, I sat back and I went, you know what? I have to be myself. I can still be a professional and be myself. And walk in a room as a human being without having to be somebody that walks in with that professional persona as a therapist all the time.
That's something I've always wondered as well. How do you maintain that? Because therapy is a little bit different than being a doctor or, you're just looking at a physical illness that someone has. But being a therapist, you're connecting with people on a different level. So sometimes, how do you maintain that professional versus personal boundary, but you've answered that question for me now.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm walking the edge. But I feel that that's... therapy is a relationship between you and the person that's sitting in front of you, the wellness partner, right? And if you don't have that relationship and that trust between the two of you, the therapy will not proceed as it should. So it's really, really important to build that. And part of that, like, you come in a room and somebody's sitting there and they're the therapist. And you are just supposed to tell them everything about yourself, your deepest, darkest secrets, and you're looking to them for help. But they sit there and they're like a closed book. How can that relationship develop in a good way? It's very difficult. So for me, it's a give and take, right? I tell them, okay, you're telling me things about you. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. So it doesn't seem so one-sided. So we learn to trust each other. So we develop this relationship. So you feel that you can sit in this space and we can work together. You know, walk side by side to help you. You know, walk through what you need to walk through.
Right.
So you can come out the other side a beautiful person that is in there. You can bring that person out like a butterfly, right? And that's a very specific relationship. But also, it's a relationship that you need to be careful of, right? Because you're finding out a lot about that individual, and there's that trust there. And so, as a therapist, we have to really watch that and honor that gift. And that's why we're so highly regulated, right? We need to be.
Right. Because you're not a friend, you're not a mentor, you're a therapist. It's a completely different category.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're not a teacher either, because there's not that hierarchy like you mentioned. You're side by side, you're guiding them, but it seems like a completely different section.
Yeah.
And I know you also work with New Leaf Holistic Recovery. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that program?
It's a wonderful program. The director is David Reese. This is his baby that he put together, and it's a program that runs for 3 months, 12 weeks, and it's a small cohort, usually between 8 and 10 individuals, and they come in from Monday through Friday, 9 to 3:30, to seek assistance in addiction support. And most of the individuals are people that have gone for in-person treatment. At the minimal, they had to have detoxed, and then they come to our program. But it's a program where we have fun, and you learn life skills. So we generally start with a meditation visualization at the beginning of the day. We have all sorts of different facilitators coming in. We have a guy that's a chef that comes in and teaches cooking. We have a financial person come in and teach us finances. We have, she's an architect that's a professor here at U of C. She came in and did beautiful art projects with the clients. We had some facilitators come in and teach neuroscience. We have facilitators come in and do yoga and like all sorts of beautiful life skills to learn to live. There were this last cohort, I took them out to a conservation area and we picked sage for one day, right? So we do all sorts of beautiful things and we have fun. It's not all, recovery is not all serious. It's learning to live again, right? And so every cohort every person that has been through it have everybody, says how much they enjoyed the program, how much they learned to live again, enjoy life, and to learn all these tools. So when they go home each night, they can try out a lot of stuff, and then they can come back and we'll help them. And we also do therapy with them there too. So it's just a very beautiful program.
I love all these programs that you're part of, and it seems like you play a lot of different roles in a lot of different organizations. So you're quite busy around the clock, right?
I like doing many different things. Yeah, it's one thing I remember when I was in school and I was doing the clinical program, and they knew that I did a lot of advocacy work and national work, community work, and they said, well, you're a therapist now. You need to be a therapist. And I said, no, I get to do it all now. Don't limit me.
You can't be limited, though.
No.
You have so much potential, and like you said, we all do.
Yes.
You know, that's one thing I struggle with when people say, because I also like to dabble in different things. So when someone says, what do you want to be? It's like, do you mean all of the things I want to be?
Yeah. You know, just because you have a degree in a certain area, it doesn't mean that that's all of you, right? We all have so many talents that we learn, even while going through school, even going through our lives, right? And we have so many different interests. And that's what keeps it all interesting, is doing all the different things. You never get bored.
No. You're always giving back. You feel like your time, your life has a bit more purpose when you do all these different things.
Well, yeah, a lot of, people have said, well, I'm 67 years old now, right?
You don't look it.
They'll say, oh, are you going to retire? And I say, why? I'm having so much fun. Jeez. Oh, my dad's 91. He hasn't retired yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was first Indigenous architect in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's still going strong. So I look at him and I'm like, nah, I'll just, as long as I'm having fun and I'm enjoying life.
There's no age for anything, right? You've showed us that. No age to go back to school, no age to be happy and live your life to the fullest, no age to retire even, so.
Yeah, life is to be lived. Grab every minute of it.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And if you have one piece of advice for anyone listening today, what would that be?
That would be, those thoughts you have in your head that go through that say you're not enough, that say that you can't do it. Those thoughts that put yourself down, they don't mean anything. They're just thoughts. Just let them pass out of your mind. And don't let them stop you, right? Like we all have incredible potential. But sometimes we go to a situation and we hear that thought, oh, you can't do it. You're not good enough. You're going to make a fool out of yourself. Those things are your enemies. Don't listen to them. Walk past them and become who you really are. The rest is just blab. Don't do it. Follow who you are. Don't let those little words stop you.
It's perfect advice because tomorrow is the first day of school.
Oh, I remember that day. Ooh, scary. Yes. But you know what? Y'all can do it. You're going to do great, Just get out there, get those degrees, and shake the world.
Don't let those thoughts stop you.
Nope.
Awesome. And last question here while we wrap up. I can't believe it's the end of our time already. Okay, so because our podcast is called Many Different Birds, if you were to be a bird, what kind of bird would you want to be? Would you be, and why?
Well, I'm a cardinal bird, bright red. I like to fly high, though. I like to see from a I guess more eagle than cardinal bird. I guess when I think about it, I like to fly high and see the bigger picture. Because when we're stuck on one little part of it, we tend to lose lose what's important. But if we see from the higher space, like of an eagle, they can fly higher than any other bird. And they can see from a really wide perspective. They see everything. And when you do that, then your whole life and everything looks differently.
Wow, so beautiful. And I can see all of that in everything that we talked about today. We talk about health. We talked about it individually, but then we also talked about holistically. You said that we're made up of our cognitive, emotional, physical, spiritual, emotional, and we're kind of like, we're one unit, but we're made up of those units. Awesome. Thank you so much. It was so lovely having this conversation with you. And by the time we finish this episode, it's already a bit darker outside, but it doesn't seem like time has flown at all.
Well, I really appreciate you, bringing me in to do this podcast. And it was wonderful sitting with you. And I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also want to thank CJSW, the Indigenous Global and Local Health Office, Grandmother's Lounge, and the UCreate team for helping us with this podcast. We couldn't have done this without your support and knowledge. Lastly, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. Remember to join us on CJSW, Spotify, and Apple Music for bi-weekly episodes on all topics of healthcare with special guests and your favorite host, Nidhi. Keep a lookout for next episodes, and until then, stay awesome.